Hi guys, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you've already been here before. I am Mama Bear to many. I am mom to 14 children. 12 of my children are still at home. And I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today. I am out actually in our cabin, and we have a cabin on our property. And it is a little bit quieter here, but we wanted to do some work here today, so I thought that I'd come out here and film this video. And I just started a fire, so I'm gonna have it warm up a little bit, and then I'm gonna have some of the kids come out and we'll do some projects on here. So if you haven't seen the video where we are going to check out some of that, I will have that in the description box below, and you can see the progress that we're making on this cabin here. But today is totally different. We're going to talk about how to live as a large family in a small house. Yep, you got it. How you live as a large family in a small house. And maybe a little bit of the blessings of that, right? Because you think, oh no, it must be horrible to live in a small space with such a large family. I'm not going to get into the details of the size of our space, because I don't really want to hear backlash on people. We chose our house and our land mainly for the land aspect of things, and we have made our house work, and we have built additions on and that type of stuff. But we definitely, we have a less than standard size house for the average American, let alone a large family. So that said, it can be done. Actually, a lot of the families that I know that have more than 10 children live in smaller spaces. It's the people who have the 5 to 8 kids that feel like they need a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house. And there is some blessings, I guess, to that, but there's also some downsides to that. So for instance, we live in a small household, or in a small space, and that means that we're around each other all the time. So you can't, I think it's similar, like in the Amish community, right? You can't really hold a grudge against one person because you're going to see that person tomorrow, and you're going to have to smile at that person tomorrow, right? So you learn to forgive and you learn to love one another. And it's easier if you're in a larger space to be like, no, get out of my space. This is my room. This is my space. Don't touch my things. Don't touch my. It can be easier to do that where in a large family, and if they're sharing bedrooms and stuff, then people have to share, right? And you have to say, for most people's lives, they're going to share. Unless you're like a single person, you're going to have to share things in your life. And even then, you should be sharing with others anyway. I think that it allows you to develop more deeper relationships in a closer area. So there's no I don't want to say there's no secrets, because there's not like secrets in and of like, oh, don't tell anyone. But people really know that person, right? And most of the time, things work out. So let's just talk about a couple practical tips, because I know when I was younger, I wanted to know those practical tips on how the heck do you do this, because I feel like I'm just gonna pull my hair out. And I think that mainly was because there was a lot of things that I didn't have organized, whether that was mentally organized, spiritually organized, or like physical type things organized. I gotta stoke the stove. So let's chat about those things. All right, threw some logs in the fire. I have a list I actually wrote the other day when we were driving to the city. I wrote some things down thinking about this topic, actually. But it's super messy. Look at my list. I have 2 video ideas on here. Yeah, it's all like, that's how I write. I am not a neat writer. Some of my children are like, oh, Mom. All right, so I think that the first and foremost thing that you need to do is be honest. Children do not need to have every single toy. Children most of the time are, if they're given the opportunity and they grow up in a lifestyle of being outside and being part of like nature and God's creation. And most of the time they're not going to need toys to entertain them. We stopped years ago buying toys that made lots of noise because we wanted open-ended toys where the kids actually had to use their imagination in order to use those toys. So we have toys, and I will link our toy video where I organize my toys down in the description box below for you guys, because it goes well into the toy situation and how I organize that. But basically, we have community toys. They're put in a community space, and they're allowed to have a toy out per day. And it's not just like one toy, it's a set of toys out per day. For instance, Legos out today, or magnetic blocks out today. But we always spend time outside every day, almost every day. Even if it's yucky outside, we're outside. Just like that book says, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. Okay. So, other things that I minimized were, so first toys. The next thing I went on to was clothing. And with that, I'm going to say laundry as well. So with clothing, I started out giving them a certain amount of clothing, like so many outfits, but then I found it better if I kept it within like a space. So they each have 3 totes that are this big. One is for their pants and underpants, one is for their dresses, and one is for their pajamas. And then they also have a couple hanging things, and that's going out outfits that we would go out. So they might have, depending on their age, maybe 3 to 5 outfits. If they wanted more or they chose more or something, like the older kids could have like 5 outfits or whatever that would fit in there, and that would be fine. Another thing is with laundry and such, we do not change all of our clothes every day. We don't. I, as a mom, usually change my shirts every day and underclothing, because I usually get thrown up on, or who the heck knows what is all over myself. Same for all my older kids. They could change every day if they wanted to. That's totally up to them. But honestly, if you're wearing a sweater and you're wearing a t-shirt underneath it, is that sweater really getting dirty unless you spill something on it? It's really not. If you're wearing a skirt and we wear leggings underneath it, it's not even touching our body. So we don't change our clothes every day. Little kids, same thing. We have going out clothes and we have play clothes. They can wear their play clothes that day, and if they get dirty, then their clothes can go in the dirty clothes. But if it's not dirty, it can get put on the next day. A lot of times this time of year, kids are wearing like snow pants and all that type of stuff over their gear. So how dirty are they really getting? So that will save you a lot on laundry. I see people doing tons and tons of laundry. And we do tons of laundry, but in comparison to, I've seen some people with like 5 kids doing 8 loads of laundry a day. I'm like, what are you washing? So my nose is cold, and now it's going to start running because my nose is cold. So anyhow, other things that you would wash are sheets. We only keep, wise woman years ago, she said to me, she actually said to a group of ladies that were a large family, she says what she does is she takes a pillowcase and an extra sheet, she puts it in a pillowcase, folds it, and puts it underneath their bunk beds, and that's their extra set of sheets. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is genius. So that is what I do. They each have one extra, and they just swap it back and forth. Their extra is right underneath their bed. So I don't have to have a linen closet full of clothes. Another thing is with towels, I color coordinate their towels. They all have hooks. They all have a space that their towels are there. If you're clean and you're drying off, you don't need to wash your towel every single time you take a shower. So that minimizes that. I don't know if that really has to do with space, but it does have to do with space because all those things do take up space. So I'm trying to see what else I wrote down. So once you have minimized all your things, make sure that there's a space for all of your things. So to have your kids have 5 outfits, but there's no space for those 5 outfits, then, well, that's stupid, because, or a space that's workable, like, for them. If you are having your kids that are 3, 4, 5 years old hanging clothes, it's probably not going to work out the best for you. It's easier just to throw things in a bin and go like that. I also tend to buy clothing that doesn't look wrinkled, because I want my kids to be able to do their own things. So if they are trying to fold their things and they're folding it in a wad, I don't want it to look like they folded it in a wad. I want things that are going to look halfway decent and not need to be ironed. And that is such a blessing, not having to iron. There was a lady a couple years ago, and she was saying how she just finished ironing her sheets, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, people iron sheets? So if you are an ironer that irons your sheets, I'm sorry, I am not an ironer. I use an iron for sewing. Okay. Then organizing everything that you have. So those toys need spaces. If you say you're keeping this amount of toys, it needs a home. If you are saying you're keeping this amount of clothing, it needs a home. Everything needs a home. Extra diapers need a home. Food needs a home. Everything needs a home. One thing that's really kind of cool and is helpful is our bedrooms are bedrooms. So our bedrooms are like sanctuaries. It is sanctuaries for rest and for sleep. And those are our quiet spaces. So if a child needed just a couple minutes to have downtime, like they just want to go paint by themselves if they're older, or excuse me, or they have something that they want to go read a book or something when they're older or whatever, like they can go into that space and not worry about having I'm a tickle in my throat. I was looking to see if I had a mint in my pocket. I have glucose tablets. Anyhow, I have crackers, glucose tablets, a phone charger in an off-grid building, a juice box, and a knife. No mints for me. Okay, so is that their bedrooms are for sleeping and for quiet activities. Most of the time my kids don't play in their rooms. They may ask to, hey, can we play baby dolls? Or we have lots of girls, so can we play baby dolls in our room? And I might allow something like that. They usually keep their stuffed animals and their baby dolls in their rooms, but everything else is a community toy. And the community toys get taken out like as a group, and they can play that in the group area. So that also means that we have community living spaces, which means we need to be interactive with each other, right? So in community living spaces, you're looking for, if we're watching a movie, a lot of times we're watching a movie of a group of people together. We play a lot of board games, a lot of card games, almost every day. Somebody's like, hey, you want to do this? And so yeah, younger kids, older kids, they're all working together. And I think that it builds this community and this bond between siblings, rather than, I see a lot of older children thinking a lot about me and my. And so having a smaller space kind of forces those types of relationships together. So as far as bedrooms go, in space is concerned, there are bunk beds, there are triple bunks, there are trundles. Upstairs we have a smaller room for the little girls, and we have a triple bunk and a regular bunk. And then we could fit another bed in there if we wanted to, and underneath that other bunk we could slide a bed underneath that as well, like slide a mattress underneath it. So there's plenty of bedding spaces. And also sometimes we'll keep, like, in that bedroom there's only 3 people sleeping right now. But there's also, if some people want to have like a sleepover in there, they can have somebody like from our family sometimes like, hey, you want to come sleep up here or whatever. Or maybe we'll say, hey, like if these people want to watch a special movie or whatever, like that might be like something that we could, like, we don't have TVs in the bedroom, but we have like a laptop and we have a iPad? I don't know what they're called. I don't know. Netbook? I don't know. Anyway, the square things that are kind of like a laptop that you can, they do their math on it. I don't know. Anyway, I think also having a small family, you save a lot of money. I mean, having a large family in a small house, you save a lot of money because you're not heating a huge space. You're heating just the space that you have, and then you also have lots of bodies in that space, so you don't really need to worry about heating that space. And then other types of bills is like you don't have electricity on in like 10 different rooms. You just have electricity on in the room that you're in or the couple rooms that people are occupying at that moment. I also think that, I mean, I think this has to do more with like a family meal table, but our family eats all at the table. Like we sit down and we eat at the table, and we just, I don't know, some things are like super silly, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is so super silly. But some of it's really like passionate, meaningful type discussions, and I think if you live in a small house, you can have those because you're always like with those people, and you're always, you can't like go and hide somewhere. I don't know. All right, I'm trying to read what I did. Other tips. I think just making use of the space that you have. So like thinking of things that are higher up. So maybe putting like shelves higher up on bunk beds, maybe putting things that are like in between just their area, that they could have a shelf in there, or like little bags that they could have like on the ends of their beds where they could have their own personal things. Gives them like that personal aspect, but yet it's not like all over the place. I think it's really interesting because when we slept here, it didn't seem small, even though this is, let's see, inside is 28 by 14. So I can't figure out the math as far as square footage. I think it's like 400 square feet, something like that. But it didn't seem small because we are so used to just doing things together, and everyone just kind of like hung out and did their thing. And I think that's like the beauty of having a large family in a small house. If we were to move, I don't know that I would actually go with a bigger house. I think that I might look at some specific things that would be like a blessing to us. Like to have a pantry off the kitchen would probably really be a blessing to us. I definitely would want a big kitchen. I don't think that I could move into a house with a small kitchen because there's so many of us in the kitchen together that just space. I mean, you can suck it in and move it over, but you know, if there's no space to do that, then it kind of becomes difficult. So I hope this video might bless somebody. I kind of got a little like crazy, wonky, rambly. I don't really know. I guess I write like tidbits of notes, but it's not like I'm actually writing like protocol for what I'm doing on this video. So those are some things. Another thing that I find very helpful, and I'm going to be talking on another video, is assigning colors to your children. I find that really helpful. We use less, I wrote down here, use less books and DVDs and go to the library more, to get those resources from the library instead of like keeping stuff. So I think one of the main things is minimizing and then using your space to its maximum capacity. And if visual is a thing for you, try not to keep so much stuff all over. Try to make those things be like in a basket or whatever isn't so like visually hard on yourself. Another thing is like when we rearrange things, we're always rearranging. And when we rearrange things, we're rearranging to make things better for that season of our life, for what's going to work best for our family in that season of our life. We like to create sitting spaces throughout our house so that as I'm doing something as a mom, I can also have a child with me, doing whatever they need to be doing. Say they're, doing some schoolwork or whatever, like they could do that right there with me. Another thing is we made our living room with lots of couches in it. Our living room is not super huge, but we just put a lot of couches in it so that everyone felt like, hey, this is a cool space to hang out. And it is. That's just how it is. It's a cool place to hang out, and we love to hang out in there and hang out with each other, and we love to play together and just enjoy each other's companies. Yeah, we fight and we argue, but it's not like hurtful fight and arguing. I don't know if like nobody like does screaming matches at people in our house. We might express frustration or express disappointment or those types of things, but we're not hollering at each other on a regular basis. There has been times that things have happened, but I think just respecting that. I listened to a sermon, not a sermon, I listened to a woman the other day, and she was like, people respect people, we teach our children to respect people as living souls. Don't we a lot of times like treat other people as maybe an inconvenience, or not the way that we should, but we should treat them like they are another human being that we are trying to like communicate with. We should treat people the way that we want to be treated. And that's how it is like in our house too. I might go over conflict. I am not the best. Like, I think sometimes when people talk about conflict, they're like, okay, this is the solution, and we don't ever go in conflict. But I really think that like respecting your children will help through any conflict. Yeah. All right. I hope y'all have a good day, and I am going to go stoke this fire again, and then it's getting warmer. I might let some kids come in here and hang out, and maybe we'll do some work in here. We'll see. All right, y'all have a blessed day.